And then I got a phone call from a detective who said that they had a wiretap on a line and that when I go to court tomorrow, I need to have security follow me in because basically there's been a threat against my life and the plan is to shoot me on the way into court.
All right, welcome back, guys, to Cases and Cocktails. I'm Bryan Eggleston, and my beautiful wife's here with me today. Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm absolutely fantastic. We've got a special episode. This is episode 23, and we've got a special episode. We have had some feedback from people that have tuned into the podcast, and they've got some questions. And we've been doing this for a little while now, and we've also decided that some questions that keep coming up, haven't been answered, right? And so we're going to take an opportunity to have a very special guest, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Josh Sharon. How are you?
That was a lot. I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on.
So I've asked Josh what he wanted me to introduce him as, and that's what I came up with. Josh, maybe you want to tell everyone what it is that you do.
I'm the man behind the cameras. When he starts looking off to the side, I'm the guy that's sitting over there in headphones trying not to laugh. So that's my job, get everything set up and make it sound good. So I'm hoping you guys like it every week.
I'll be honest with you. Y'all don't know this, but Josh is the reason that this entire thing exists. This is his brainchild, so I'm going to give him that.
But are you having fun doing it?
I'll be honest with you. This is more fun than what we were doing previously. So
Just
I'll
saying.
give you that. All right, so I'll give you that.
I know a little bit.
So what we're going to do today, Josh has got questions. Some of them I think he's thought about. Some of them came from y'all, and some of them I think he's going to make up on the fly.
Oh, we're going to test that mass comm degree that I've got right now. I promise you that, because we're going to figure out
That's right. Do we need to give a shout out to the Horned Frogs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Shout out to the women's basketball team from TCU. Y'all made a hell of a run this year. And yes, I'm proud to be a Horned Frog. I actually was on the women's practice team at TCU.
Really? Nice.
So we had a group of ex-high school players that would come and scrimmage the women.
Yeah.
So I did that for 3 years. So
Nice.
they've got a special place in my heart for the run that they just had this year.
Yeah,
so
fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. That's fantastic.
I'm excited for them.
How are you? Are you still in basketball shape?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
I heard you're doing well in your physical activities.
No, so like I've got back issues. I'm 40. Like 40 is downhill, and so they say that, but I don't stretch. It's all bad.
Yeah, it's okay. We're gonna get you there.
We are young. We're fine.
Vibrant.
It's okay.
We aren't halfway through life yet. No,
that's fair.
Vibrant and young. So
that's fair.
You gonna introduce this drink 7 minutes into the podcast, or are we?
Here's the thing. I was
us.
enjoying my conversation. With
I
you.
was too.
I was enjoying this.
The producer in me was like, "We should."
I was going to say, I know we got to do this. We got.
There's
on
a time
schedule.
limit.
That's right. All right, we do have a cocktail today for this very special episode. What is it, beautiful?
It's the Lady Lavender. It's grapefruit, lavender syrup, club soda, grenadine, and tequila.
Nice. You go with tequila?
Oh yeah.
All right, let's do this. There you go.
That's way better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I like it. It's basically a Paloma. It's like a Paloma plus, right?
This is a Paloma.
Yeah. I like that. I can do that.
I'm not a grapefruit fan, but you can't taste it.
No, you can't taste it. That's the nice part. I can do that. That's not bad at all. All right, so I think the format for today has to be you are going to ask the questions and we're going to try to answer them.
I am so nervous.
I don't think you should be
Oh,
nervous.
you should.
I am
Why?
so. He just knows all the things.
So let's jump right in. I want to know, what is your most interesting case? Not the most memorable, not the money that was spent. The one that you got and was like, yeah, this is going to be one for the ages. You don't have to, bounce around the legalities and what you can, but yeah, people want to know what you guys are dealing with.
I think one of the most memorable ones is one that we've talked about before. I represented Mom and it was a custody case. And it seemed like it was going to be contested, but not one of those super contentious cases. It was just going to be a regular case. And then I got a phone call from a detective who said that they had a wiretap on a line and that when I go to court tomorrow, I need to have security follow me in because basically there's been a threat against my life and the plan is to shoot me on the way into court.
So like some Law and Order type stuff, like the stuff you see in television is potentially.
I guess, yeah. And it was Dad and
so I know y'all as individuals. How did that make you feel? Like,
I was pretty stoked. I was like, he's that upset. I was like, and he didn't have an attorney and he's representing himself. I was like, and he's not going to be able to do that well. He's so emotional. He wants to kill me in the parking lot.
Do you take a second and self-reflect when those emotions come up when somebody's just threatened your life?
So
like,
that
I don't feel like that's the normal response.
Normal is so subjective. It was before I had kids, and so I think that my perspective on life was a little bit different. It was more burn it to the ground. The rest doesn't matter. So my perspective now might be different. But no, there was no check at that point. It was just double prep, make sure I kick ass when I walk in the courtroom.
I think for me, I remember that, and we've had this issue come up a handful of times, a few times. When you are dealing with people, first of all, in a divorce or a child custody case, oftentimes they're in the worst spot of their entire life. So that's where you're starting, right? And then you're talking about their children, or you're talking about their livelihood, or you're talking about their life savings, and it just like their level of absolute shit that they're dealing with is so astronomical. It's so heavy that oftentimes people feel like they have no other choices. And the truth of the matter is there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of things that can happen and that people can do. But oftentimes, instead of that self-reflection, it's easier to blame the attorneys. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. We're not victims, right? It's not I'm not asking for sympathy. But my point
You're not
is,
gonna get it.
Right. We're not going to get it. It's fine. But we are kind of put in that space, mm-hmm. and it's often taken out on directed towards us. Let me put it that way. And there have been instances where this happens, and not to take anything away from Janice, but for me, I automatically go into a role of protection.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you have the same?
No, I for me, there's a little bit of whether it's opposing party, opposing counsel, right? If you're living rent free in their head over there, you're probably doing something that's appropriate for your client, right? You're probably doing a good job advocating for your client. But once it becomes a thing where they're personally attacking you, whether it's online or in person or whatever it is, that becomes more of a space of, for me, I have to do what I'm designed to do, which is protect. That's just who I am. That's ingrained in my being.
And when you get into contentious litigation like that in family law, do you guys end up walking the fine line of not professionalism per se, but there's certain things that can happen and cannot happen where emotions are involved? Are you always on the lookout for your client, or are you on the other side? There's also a human being on the other side of the count or the table as well.
Right.
Are you looking out for them emotionally too, or like how do you see when you're in the deep, if you will, of a litigation? Yeah. One client is paying you, but there's a human being on the other side as well too.
Sure.
How do you guys handle that?
Advocating for your client doesn't mean being a horrible human to the other side.
Yeah.
That's not what
100%.
that means. And that's kind of the perspective that helps. Yeah. Your client might want you to hurt the other side because they're still dealing with their emotions. But I regularly have to explain to clients, look, your job is to have the feelings and have the emotions. This is your money. These are your kids. I would not be a good attorney if I walked in and I had feelings about this case. My job is to peel the feelings away and deal with the facts. And that is the best way for me to be able to advocate for you.
And I'll say this too, I agree with that. First of all, I agree with that, right? We have to compartmentalize any emotions so we can effectively, advocate and do the things. I think the other thing is too, what's funny, and I talk about it all the time, you want the client, we want to help shepherd the client through the process, be successful in the process, but also be successful on the back end. Being successful in the process and even on the back end doesn't mean destroying the other side. In fact, there's a sense, if you really step back, success in the process and success afterwards is likely a situation where you have to co-parent a child for X number of years. And so destroying all semblance of, civility and decency and just imploding the other side isn't really conducive, right?
Okay.
To that success. But at the same time, just real fast, sometimes facts are the facts.
For sure.
And we have to go do it. And it's one of the reasons Janice and I have said from the very beginning when we very first started this, anytime two parents can sit down and agree on the kid stuff, agree on the property stuff, do the stuff, it's better off because then they can take each other's positions and we can navigate that. We go to court, it's not even us that are making the decision. Like a lot of times it's like, you went to court and took my kids away from me. No, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I went to court and advocated for my client and the judge took your kids away, right? Or limited your access.
But you guys have both mentioned situations that have children. Mm-hmm. What if there's no kids involved and the story or the situation that is in the other person on the other side is a douchebag and there's no kids involved? Are we out for justice for the client? Are you still?
We're still advocating for the client. And if there's no kids, then in my opinion, there's no feelings because it's just a math
Correct.
problem.
It's math.
It's just dollars and cents.
But are our math problems now skewed where we're trying to make sure that we can get everything possible? Because you hear those stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
as long as that's what our client wants.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's very client specific. Every client wants different things. But if we're just talking about money and they want to get as much out of the estate as possible, then we review every aspect.
But here's the thing, not every client wants that, right?
For sure.
Right. So we're in a space too where it's like a lot of times clients, and this happens more often than not.
Because they've been fighting and doing the thing for
right.
so long, they just want to be done.
Right. A lot of times clients come to us and be like, I just want it done. And you're like, hey man, we should, legally
You could be entitled to.
It has nothing to do with the other side.
Yeah.
Right. So I appreciate your question about the other side, but oftentimes this isn't even, the analysis has nothing to do with the other side. The legal aspect of this case says you are entitled to make this argument.
Okay.
You are entitled to make this argument. You are entitled to make this argument. And all three of these arguments are likely going to result in financial, money or some sort of financial positive for you. And they're like, I don't want to do it.
Okay, so the client has the free will, if you will, you're giving the options,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that are steering the ship, if you will.
100%.
We counsel them. We
Correct.
give them the advice. We tell them what their options are. We tell them from a litigation perspective what option we think they should take. And oftentimes they will say, I hear you, I appreciate that, but I want to do this instead.
And so being able to compartmentalize, I'm really good at it, and it's I don't necessarily think it's a great quality to have, but it is one of those ones like in your personal life, you go, I see where this has been. Do you guys see where that has affected your personal life, or are you able to leave work at home and then come back and go
I can leave work, but I can't leave pulling the emotion away and making rational decisions, right? So I see it then in interactions with friends. They're talking about something very emotional. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't really matter because this is really what's going on. So
I get told I should have been an attorney, and I hated school, but school was never difficult. But I have that where it's like you guys are just very emotional over this situation, and it's just this or that. Just pick one. Let's get it over with.
You know what's interesting about it, Josh, is, and I think one of the things that we're good at here at our firm is people come in and it's like you're drinking from a fire hydrant of emotions and background and all these things. And you have to stand there and take it. Okay. Yeah. And you don't say, well, that doesn't matter. Or well, I don't know why you feel that way, or that's stupid, right? That's not going to get you very far. And we don't do that, right? There are attorneys that do that.
Yeah.
We don't. We don't tell you you're wrong for the way that you feel, whatever. We'll listen to that. But more importantly, what we try to do is we take that in, let you understand that you're being heard.
Yeah.
Right? We get that. But here are the things that we're going to help you inside the divorce. All that emotion, we're also going to try to give you a resource to go deal with that emotion. Right? Because what I have to do inside that fire hydrant, all this data is coming out and it's just emotion, but I'm also picking up, y'all agreed to split the kids every other week.
This is an important part of visitation for you.
Yeah. There's an issue with exchanges right now, right? I'm picking that out of she's a bitch and he's an asshole and he did this and her girl or her boyfriend did that or whatever, and it's like, okay, we're taking that in. But at the same time, we're trying to pull these data points out, understand that emotion still exists and give them a space to go do that, but then let us deal with the litigation side.
And come make decisions that aren't emotional. Because the last thing you want is your client to make a litigation decision or a decision on an agreement that's based on emotion, because that emotion is going to go away or change one day. But then they'll be stuck with their decision.
And there's so much that encompasses family law. So do you find that one aspect is easier to navigate those waters than others? I mean, you've got high conflict divorces with no kids, parental alienation, you've got abuse cases, infidelity, financial, do they all just run the same river, or
they're all the same, they're all different. I mean, they are, I've had divorce cases, no kids, assets are probably less than 7 figures, and we're fighting to the death
for years
over stuff.
And people are getting back into homes, and we have to call the sheriff's department to have people physically removed from homes. Then they're climbing up to the second story to move back in. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. And
wait. No, you're just not going to gloss over that one. Well, when you say moved out of homes and then moving back into homes, like we've split the house.
So we had a house award to somebody, and then the other party that didn't get the house, they
broke in.
I was gonna say broke in because you still had the key, so the key still worked.
Yeah.
Is that technically breaking in?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not yours, Josh.
It's not yours anymore, but
the key still worked though.
Right. Well, yeah, but it's my point is that you get in these spaces where you can talk to a lot of family lawyers, and they'll tell you stories about mediation. We're fighting over Christmas ornaments, or we're fighting over lawn furniture, or we're fighting over it. And
the recliner or whatever the video game system is.
Right.
And you sit in front of your client. You say, "You're paying me X number of dollars an hour. The other side is paying their attorney X number of dollars an hour. You're both paying the mediator X number of dollars an hour. How many hours are we going to spend talking about this thing that's worth $400?"
And the problem is that that's just like.
But that's their win.
Right, but that's this thing. But it's more about emotion, and that goes back to your question. And they're all the same. You'll have a custody case, you'll be doing the same thing, have the same level of emotion. Sometimes you'll have custody cases with hardly any emotion. Everyone's doing great. There's, I want little Johnny and Susie to live with me, and they want to live okay, and they're both great parents, and it's not a big deal. But they all seemingly have that emotion, right, at some level, and you have to navigate that, and then parse through that, and then work on the litigation side.
And most divorces happen without lawyers.
Really?
So the divorces that we handle are a small fraction of what is actually going on in the divorce world, and it means that something's probably off.
And are you guys, because you're in business, so it's a business. Are you turning people away? They go like, "Hey, you should probably just do this on your own," or once they've reached out to an attorney, we're past the doing it on our own stage?
Not necessarily. Sometimes part of the consultations, and the reason that we do a lot of free consultations, is just to help give advice and educate on different options and different things that people can do on their own. I regularly, probably am not the best business person because I'll regularly tell people, look, the only person
apparently somebody at the table is the one that talks about numbers and the other one is not.
Right.
More feelings. I regularly tell clients the only person that's going to make money off that argument is me. Let's not do that. Let's focus on the goals.
It is often that we have to look at clients and say, look, there's a lot of things we can do right here. A lot of litigation stuff we can do. But quite frankly, it doesn't make sense based on X, Y, and Z. And it makes more sense. Let's go do this and be very limited in what we're doing and the scope of it. And I think clients appreciate that. I think it's hard. You're talking about compartmentalization. I know it's difficult, particularly for my team, like my paralegal, my case manager, my client consultant. A lot of times when we're sitting around strategizing, we're like, we could do this, and then we'll do this, and we put together the strategy, and then we kind of step back and we're like, yeah, but that's not really going to get the client their ultimate goal, which is X, right? And then it's like, okay, well, we need to adjust this and modify this, and so then we go back to the client. We might tell them there's other strategies, right? But this is sort of the best one. And I think clients appreciate that. I think they appreciate the keeping their goals in mind, right?
But still giving them all the options.
Giving them the options, yeah.
And not specifics, but is there a case or an instance or something that you got all the information, you had consultations and all of that, and you were like, I really want this one?
Oh, yeah. That happens a lot.
Okay. Give me.
And the ones where you have the facts, the law, and then the client with the great personality that's real articulate, that's going to get on the stand and crush it, and you prepare for weeks, months, and then you walk into the courthouse, and the other side, this happened to me 2 weeks ago, the other side comes up and goes, we'll give you everything you want. And I was...
And you were amped for ready to go.
Like you're ready to go. Yeah, you're ready to do the things. Because
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the attorney's fees? Yeah, we'll give you that too.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, now see, this is
we'll go to the house.
This is me, the doesn't know anything about legal. When that happens, are you like digging in the bag? Like, what else can I get out of this situation now for my client? Like,
not really.
No, not really.
Well, I went back to my client and she said she wants the books, all the encyclopedias as well too now.
Yeah, let me
if that's what the client says, yes. But usually when you go in and you have your proposed disposition for court, it's your wish list. It's if my client gets everything they want, this is the stuff they want. And it was a hearing where, it took a lot and there was a lot of emotion and there was a kid. We thought there was a safety concern, all kinds of stuff. And they literally walked in and said, all that stuff on your wish list, you can have that.
So from on the other side of that, what would make an attorney, because how long were y'all fighting that case?
A couple months.
So months had transpired of back and forths and emails and document spents and arrests. How do you get, as an attorney, putting yourself in the opposing counsel's mind, how do you get to the courthouse steps after all of that and then just basically throw in the towel? Like, do you think they knew they were going to lose? Like, because the face that you're making right now was like, we were on our shit. And
I've never done that. So
that's what I'm asking. Like, what would make to me, if we get to litigation, unless the only way I'm giving up is if I know heart of hearts, we're about to get handed to us as soon as we walk through this door.
I think there was a lot of that played into it.
Good for y'all.
And by the time they showed up, they had the evidence that we were going to show at the hearing, and they didn't get that till the morning of because it was a temporary hearing. And I think that they perused it and realized that we did, in fact, have everything that we said we had.
Okay.
I think, too, there's a lot of factors that go into that. People oftentimes think that litigation is, you get your client, get all your evidence, we're going to go to court, and the other side, they're going to get their client, they're going to go all to court, and we're going to fight to the death over this.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really, because it's really, their evidence is really most of the time your evidence. It's not like
it's perspective.
I was gonna say, it's the same document. Right, we're just looking at it two different ways.
You're looking at the same text messages. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they've got theirs,
and they both think it's good for their case.
Right. And oftentimes there's a little bit of that. But my point of that is there's a lot that goes into making that type of decision, and not just the decision that you're suggesting where you capitulate and give whatever you want. But I talk a lot of times with clients about exposures of liability. Mm-hmm. And if you've got an exposure liability, we want to address that. And we want to address that, and we want to make sure that we're managing that, but more importantly, we're addressing that. And if we feel like that exposure liability outweighs what we could get, then we need to start figuring out a solution to not go in front of this judge.
Or the potential fallout if we're
Right.
talking about a case that has a kid, right?
Right.
So you're going to go in here and you're going to throw all this mud at the other side, and your co-parenting relationship might be okay right now, not great. But after you go
afterwards,
say
right,
those things,
it's done.
it's going to be terrible for a while.
And a lot of this
and the
right.
kids are going to feel it.
Right. A lot of this also goes into like, how does your client look? How does your client testify? How is your client on the stand? How can your client articulate what? Okay, your client's saying X, Y, and Z is happening, but we have zero things to corroborate that outside of our client saying this is happening. So these are all things that we take and we kind of look through, right? And we say, okay, and at least for us here at the firm, we're doing this from day one.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients in their very first like Zoom meeting, we're vetting you. We're judging you right now. And that sucks. And I tell them it sucks because you get on a Zoom with like 4 strangers and like, tell me your most intimate, dark secrets right now. We're going to decide.
We're going to have a lot of follow-up questions
Right.
too.
And so, that sucks. But I want them to know and we're doing that because we want to know. And if from day one, you're saying X, Y, and Z happened, and then day 2, you say X, Y, and Z happened, and day 3, you're saying it, in month 3, and 6 months down the road, I feel really confident that you're going to get on the stand and say X, Y, Z happened.
Yeah.
If you get up there on day 1, say X, Y, Z happened, and then on day 2, you also tell me about A, B, and C, and then MNOP, right, and then all these others, right?
The little one learned the
Right,
alphabet.
right.
It's a hard spot.
Right.
P.S. The alphabet song has changed.
Right,
it's
right.
not the same song
It's
anymore.
not.
No, they've changed.
My 8-year-old has a gummy bear version of this.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
they've changed because they don't do LMNOP anymore. Like it's broken up. TikTok told me that. Fun fact.
Right. Nice.
Well, he does the LMNOP and he thinks it's one letter.
Yeah, it's 100%.
100%.
Yeah,
It's
one
a
letter.
struggle.
Yeah.
So I do. Is there a case that for each one of you, it's a question for both of you, that hit you just in the gullet, like so much was happening with it, the emotion side, because you guys are human,
Right.
So it's hard, no matter how compartmentalized you think, you're still
100%.
you're still going through the shit with your client.
Yes.
Like
In the trenches.
in the trenches. That's probably the more politically correct say than going through the shit. But what's a case that you've had, if you can share, that like you went home and just had to decompress because it was so heavy? And did you get the outcome that your client or you as a firm wanted? I'm hoping it's not the same case.
No, it's not.
But
No.
I think the heavy ones are the ones where you think that a judge or jury got it wrong.
Yeah.
Had one of those 2 summers ago, and I needed time to physically recover from the jury trial.
So, air quotes, you lost the case for your client. So here's the business, because for everybody out there as well, I also help run your marketing. And so I get I'm privy to seeing all of the reviews, good, bads, and indifferent. When you lost that case, did your client still, I'm glad we paid you every cent that we paid you?
The client drafted a letter before the ruling came out. And it was a very emotional ruling that he gave to us. And it was basically, it doesn't matter what the ruling is. You guys are the first people that have heard my story and told it. And thank you for that.
Yeah. We get a lot. I'll echo that sentiment. A lot of times we get clients that say, thank you for coming in here and sitting next to me. And as she said, telling my story or having my story heard. And I think that's an important part of this process, and I think that happens. Don't make any mistake about it. There are people that they walk out and they think we're terrible because they didn't get what they wanted.
For sure,
and it's all our fault. And
I wanted, because you get I run my own business as well too, and you get that.
Right.
How do you feel? How does a negative review hit you? Especially, I gotta believe that, knowing you guys as well as I do, you've never taken a case with the ill intention of, I'm not trying to do the best
Right.
work that I could possibly do for this client. Right. So when you're doing that and a client writes a dissertation on Google that is that long, and you're like, that seems excessive.
Right.
Like, how does that hit you and make you feel after knowing I did what I could, I did what I was supposed to, it just didn't go the way you thought it was going to?
Often,
I'll let you answer that. And then
I
I've got an answer when you're done.
I hate to say definites, so I hate to say always or never, but I can't recall a review that was the result of a case where we quote unquote lost.
Meaning
Oftentimes the reviews are based on, regardless of what they say, they're based on ill feelings about something else. Right. So it's not the case where you go to jury trial and the jury doesn't give you what you want. Those people don't give you negative reviews.
for sure.
It's usually people where you're on the case for a little bit, for whatever reason, the relationship isn't working, so you part ways.
Yeah.
And people use negative reviews as leverage to try to get something from you,
For sure.
often financial. That's my experience.
I agree with that. There's a lot that goes into that question.
You ever notice though when he starts looking off into space, it's about to get real good? though?
He's
got to.
I'm really.
Let me tell you a
The
story.
up look,
Yeah,
not the down
Let
look.
me tell you a story.
There's so
Heard
much.
it.
There's
Just
so much that goes into it because we are running a business, but we're limited on how we do it because of attorney-client privilege and confidentiality and
All the good stuff.
Yeah,
all the words.
But I want to say something that I didn't say. It's actually my paralegal said, and I think this really encompasses what you asked and what you were getting at, which is we were doing a case recently, and we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort working on this particular client's case. And when I say we're working on it, I don't think everyone understands sort of what that means. I'm looking at legal aspects, things, presentation. I'm looking at the overall data, right? As they're organizing it, how are we going to present this? My paralegal is helping obtain that data. She's helping organize that data. She's helping me with my presentation. The case manager is helping with the collection and the organization piece. The client consultant is helping manage the client oftentimes and manage this data as well for the presentation and helping shape all this. And all of this is going on simultaneously.
It's a well-oiled machine.
It is. And what's crazy is, you can give us 5,000 pages of documents and we can manage it.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I read 5,000 pages in
Right.
the 16 years of school.
Right. And just so you know, I want you to think about this too. It's not 5,000 pages of a well-written novel.
Oh, yeah.
It's 400 pages of app close messages. It's 600 pages of text messages. It's 30 pages of emails. It's 20 pages of emails to this professional. It's 30 pages of medical, records, right?
I'll stick to press and record on the camera.
Right. And so, but we're good. And I know it sounds like a weird space to say, but we're really good at managing this,
Yep.
and we're doing it and putting it all together and then presenting it. And what's funny is oftentimes my team, we will struggle with getting the stuff from the client. So there's that tension. And then once we get it, we then have to also reframe expectations based on what we've actually got in order to then prepare them so they can go to do the presentation, the hearing. And I understand it's a job. But on my team, we try so hard for our clients. And my paralegal, she says to me, well, let me back up. We went to hearing. We did all this work. We went to hearing. We didn't get the outcome we wanted. And I immediately, when that happens, I second guess myself because that's just type. I'm that athlete.
Could we have done something different?
I'm that athlete, right? I sit there and think about the shot that you missed, right? The block you missed, or whatever it is, right? I could have done that. And it has nothing to do with the totality of the outcome, but I immediately, right, my own worst critic. I then think about, okay, how can I help my client now, right? I've got this ruling, whatever it is, now we got to do that. And then we got to start thinking about the next strategy, right? So there's a lot that goes on there. And oftentimes when we're debriefing, I'm telling my team what happened in court, what the court said. And I made a comment about, I just felt bad that we didn't get the outcome that we wanted and how that's going to affect our client. And my paralegal said, well, they should be happy that they had a team like ours that was able to put all that together and give them the best shot they had, because it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, and I really appreciate that, but that speaks to the level of dedication.
For sure.
It also speaks to the level of that's the amount of care that's going on. And you may not feel it. Like the client doesn't feel the paralegal,
correct,
reading this message and saying, "Oh man, that's really bad," and how are we going to fix this? And what they don't see that because it's not reflected on an invoice, right? And they're not privy to that conversation. But that's the type of effort that goes into it, and they are literally sitting. My team, when I'm in court, they're sitting around. They want to know. They're sitting there. What's going on? What happened? Da, da, da. And they take that.
A lot of times, the whole firm is doing that.
Right. Yeah.
When there are
Because
hearings, everyone becomes invested, and so you have to send updates to all of us because we want to know what's going on.
And it's important because what you were asking, was about the client and kind of how they feel and how we feel if a client gets mad at us and that sort of stuff. We want the client to know that we're working our ass off.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee you whether we'll win or not. But I can guarantee we'll work our ass off for you. And we'll take whatever we got and we'll give you the best shot you got in court. And that doesn't mean that we're going to win. And it doesn't mean you're going to get everything you want. But at the end of the day, you know that we've tried that hard. And when we get done, most of the time, as I said earlier, most of the time clients will tell us, "Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for caring." I've had so many people tell me, your team is amazing. Not me, right? But they'll say, "My team is amazing," because they listen to me. They were always there. They're always, and I appreciate that. My team's fantastic. But when on the off chance, when we have those people that say, "Y'all didn't do anything," or "Y'all don't care," that sort of stuff, that is personal. And it's not just personal to me.
It's personal to your whole team.
My whole team feels that, right? And so we as humans sometimes, and I tell them, we don't, I think inside this space, some people get to this space where they think that we're calloused over and we don't care, and that's fair. And there's some of that probably. But we do care, and I tell my team, it's okay every once in a while when we're done with these things to just take a moment and say, "Okay, look, let's just everyone breathe." And sometimes we'll get on a Zoom and we'll just kind of chit chat, do the things, kind of decompress about it. But when someone says that we didn't do something, or someone says we didn't care for them, or we didn't try to work through case, it hurts, but we also know that's just not true.
You just know it's not true, 100%.
Not true.
And they're still dealing with their emotions
For sure,
and everything
100%.
that's going on in their personal trauma. And so you try not to take it personal, but as attorneys that do try so hard for every case, you can't help but take it
For sure. I mean, it's the nature of the beast that you guys are dealing with, just in the space of the specific set of law that you're working with in family law. Like you might be in a litigation case for crime and criminal and all of that, but if somebody's taking your kids or they're taking, like, that's a whole different set of emotions that person is going through. That So I don't really. We could do this more. Like, I feel like we should do. We should do this more.
We can do this more. We can do this more. These questions weren't that bad.
I
thought you were going to be mean to me and ask me like what kind of food I liked, and so I thought it was going to be more like a dating game situation.
We could do like a dating game, like a speed dating round if you wanted to.
That sounds terrible.
I think you guys should do that.
I mean, it could happen. It wasn't that bad.
It
though.
wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad at all. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. That's episode 23 here at Cases of Cocktails. We'll probably have Josh back on. We don't know yet, but we'll figure something out. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yes, thank y'all for having me.
Thanks for being on this side of the camera, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Greatly appreciate it. We'll see y'all next time.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next week.